Baker says it doesn't open.
Hello. So just clicking on the agenda. So can you?
Commissioner Hanson, good morning.
Okay.
Good morning.
So you can go into
Commissioner May, we're trying to get Commissioner Baker on the line right now.
And then, yes.
Very good.
244-027-2215. Okay.
And as I said, Commissioner May, at this point, you do not have a quorum yet.
Correct. I see.
Okay. All right. There she is. Good morning, Sarah.
Hi, I couldn't get it to open.
I think last time, yeah, you had that.
No, I was fine. It's just
You were
this
fine
time
last
it didn't
time?
open from the agenda. It's weird.
We do have quorum now.
Okay. Commissioner May, we do have a quorum now.
Okay. All right. So we will go ahead and call our pre-commission meeting to order. Are there any general housekeeping items that anyone would like to address? Hearing none, any comments or concerns about our agenda?
Well, I just kind of type
Okay, hearing none. I just want to do a quick reminder that please do wait to be recognized by the chair before speaking, and if you're not speaking, please do mute everything. I think we're starting to really get the swing, and thanks to Stacy and Michael for getting us all set up again. So hearing no additional comments, Director Wong?
Yes, Commissioners, again, good morning. And I have just a few things for you for your review. First off, again, as we've been sharing with you for the last several weeks right now, we will have the Ada County Highway District's Reconstitution Plan to you this Friday. The executive team is meeting for finalization of this on Thursday, and then we'll be ready to take the right steps when the governor amends his order or updates his order, whatever that's going to be. But as I shared with you, we will be prepared on 1 May to do what we're going to call a soft opening, and then walking toward 15 May with a modified full opening. More to you on that on Friday, and such as we finalize all plans to include slightly different setups within all the buildings here at the Ada County Highway District, and a slightly different maintenance and traffic operations focus as we move forward. Again, we want to make sure that we are absolutely in compliance with whatever the governor's orders are at that time, and CDC and Idaho Health team recommendations. You are going to get your first budget review session discussion on assumptions and stuff on May 6th and such. And again, I know you're not going to be surprised, but based on inputs that we've gotten from you and the group, the budget assumptions for 2020 will be a flat budget, a zero increase or zero tax increases across the board. Of course, that'll be your decision as we move forward, but that is the budget that the team is building now. And again, as I shared with you for the last couple of weeks, we'll be making some hard recommendations for hard decisions that you'll have as we walk through the budget cycle. I'll also have for you on Friday our decision as to the status of this year's chip seal operation for 2020. Jennifer and her team are doing a tremendous job on looking at all sides of this issue, the pluses, the minuses. How do we mitigate health CDC issues? How do we ensure crew force is safe? How do we do other things? Are there any cost differentials here and such? It is very complex, and as you know, the opening of the season for Ada County Highway District historically has been chip seal and such. So we have some ideas, and I'll share them with you on Friday as to what it looks like going forward. The health of the district is still excellent, and I'll tell you that the spirits of the team are high. However, the spirits also would like to start standing up operations again under a normal thing. And as I shared with you, our reconstitution plan will address that, and we will make sure that we are aggressively standing up at the same time, assuring the safety of all of our team members as they go forward. So when you do come back to the building, you may see it in a slightly different configuration. You may see your dais in a slightly different configuration to best ensure your safety as we go forward. But we'll keep you posted. I have not heard from our lobbyists this morning. I expect to hear from them today as to what the latest is and what the implications might be for Idaho, and of course I'll share those with the commission immediately. But commissioners, as for that, that's what I have for you today. But I do stand for any questions any of you may have.
Okay, thank you, Director Wong. Commissioners, does anyone have any questions for Director Wong? Hearing none.
Okay. Commissioner May, you have about 7 minutes before you start today's meeting.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Director Wong. Hello to everyone that's come on. Good morning, Kent.
So I'm gonna pop out and then pop back in.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Sarah.
Great view on cameras?
On the cameras?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't want, so we just want the podium?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, because it defaults to this camera.
Yeah.
So we'll- I can see
22nd,
phone numbers.
Okay.
right? 22nd.
For phone number. We're live still. Sorry.
Time.
Okay, you should be ready to start here shortly. Michael, you were up and running on the track. Thank you. Yes. We have 3. Ready? Commissioner May?
Ready to go?
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. I hereby call our April 22nd commission meeting to order. Director Wong, would you please lead the pledge?
Would you all stand, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, today is Administrative Professionals Day. So we would like to take this time to say thank you to our exceptional team of administrative specialists here at ACHD. They are absolutely the best of the best and are the true linchpin for everything that ACHD is able to accomplish. They are all pictured on the slide on your screen from top to bottom, left to right. I would like to acknowledge Allie Klinger, Lisa Gardner, Graciela Del Real, Peggy Smith, Brianne Shearer, Valerie Follett, Brandy Mitchell, Pat Lima, Tammy Tucker, Heather Tillett, Paige Herigstad, Sandy Kirk, Christy Gronsky, Barb Kurbs, Sandalee Boylan Isaac, and Miss Stacy Spencer. Please join me in giving the recognition and thanks to a stellar team. And on behalf of the Commission, as well as the entire ACHD team, thank you to each and every one of you. You really do keep us afloat. Thank you. Our first order of business is to adopt our agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have the consent agenda.
No video.
Items on the consent agenda.
If somebody needs to mute, whoever's on needs to mute.
Thank you. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a commissioner or a citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. All consent agenda items are commission action items unless noted. Do we have a motion?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Regular agenda. We do have agenda items this week. All regular agenda items are commission action items unless noted. We will start off with our first item on our agenda, which is a FY20 second quarter impact fee loan balance presentation by staff. We'll start with Christine Tandler. Christine, we'll turn it over to you.
There we go.
Welcome, Christine.
Thank you.
Madam President, Commissioners, for the record, Christine Tandler, Budget Coordinator, here to present information briefing on the second quarter of 2020 impact fee report. We began fiscal year 20 with a nearly $8 million balance, and to date, the loan balance is considered paid off, and the impact fee program has a balance of $913,000. To date, the main impact fee projects are the Cole and Franklin ones, that's finalizing those projects up there. The 2 miles of 10 mile, both 10 mile usage to McMillan and McMillan to Chinden, as well as the right-of-way purchases on Maple Grove, Victory to Overland. And so far, we've only paid out about $1 million on the Cole and Victory Road project that is south of Boise. The extraordinary impact fee balance began the year at about $1.5 million and is ending the second quarter at about $1.8 million. In accordance with the Ordinance 231A and Resolution 2270, I report that the impact fee program loan from the general fund has been repaid, and the impact fee program has a balance of $913,000. I will stand for questions.
Commissioners, does anyone have any questions? Thank you, Christine. No questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much, Christine.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item on our regular agenda will be a public hearing for the Orchard Street Realignment Study request for adoption. I will hereby open the public hearing, and we will start with staff, with Ms. Brooke Green. And Brooke, it's good to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back. I'm looking forward to what is in store for us. So I'm going to take a moment just to get my screen oriented to show you the presentation. Can you see that?
Not yet. No.
Go back to... Are you able to see that?
Yes, you're up.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, good morning. It's Brooke Green, Senior Transportation Planner within Projects and Planning. I'm here to present to you the consideration for the Orchard Street Realignment Concept Study. The purpose of the study was to develop a preferred concept level design for realigned Orchard Street as a mobility arterial between both Gowen Road as well as the New York Canal. Okay, staff is recommending adoption of the concept study as it is presented. Throughout today's presentation, I'll give you a brief overview of the project, the considerations that were taken into account in anticipation of the public comments this afternoon. Our team consists of several representatives that you see listed there. Most importantly, I do want to highlight we did have representatives from the city of Boise, as well as representatives from the airport. We had 9 full team meetings as we went through this process. I do want to highlight that we did have 7 engineers who participated in providing professional guidance to the actual presentation as well as the project we're putting forward. The boundaries of the project is no further north than the New York Canal, and you can't necessarily see that here on the presentation. No further south than Gowen Road, no further east than the existing Orchard Street, and then, of course, no further west than the Orchard Street expansion that is listed here. I also want to note several other important factors here. We have got the airport, Boise Airport, and their anticipated expansion. That's one of the other reasons we're studying this area. The airport has conducted a master plan and has highlighted that they would like to expand their runways out west, and so that'll be approximately here. In addition to that, underneath these yellow lands, underneath the yellow that you've got here, you've got several landfills. You've got 2. You've got a landfill approximately here as well as a landfill here. These are both historical landfills and no longer in use. However, they were considered in the creation of the plan that we have in front of you. We had several major project considerations. Of course, the traffic operation as well as the safety. As I alluded to earlier, the airport land use and their future expansion plans. Landfill impacts as well as environmental concerns. We also took into account Gowenfield access and their current traffic pattern. We did have several meetings with Gowenfield representatives in the creation of this plan. We recognize that there is certainly some growth potential that's going to occur to the south as well as to the west, and that was taken into account. We evaluate both signals as well as roundabouts. I'll speak to those as we go through the presentation. We do recognize that this is highly industrial traffic as of right now because of the existing land use. Oversized and overweight vehicles were taken into account, both for access as well as circulation. We did meet with several property owners who do traverse this area with oversized vehicles, and they were part of the consideration. We had several stakeholder concerns as well as public input that we took into account throughout this process, and we are confident the decision put forward is the appropriate decision for this corridor. Stakeholder outreach, we had 3 stakeholder meetings with 16 separate agencies that participated in those. Those were agencies that were either adjacent property owners or certainly had an interest in this area. Those occurred in March, July, as well as August. We had 8 individual stakeholder meetings where me and a couple of the teammates did go meet with the Idaho National Guard, both Knife River, City of Boise, Inland Crane, Motive Power, ITD, as well as Idaho Air Guard. We conducted an online survey, hosted an additional public open house, and just recently concluded our public comment period between March 12th and April 9th. The project team recommendation, the final recommendation is Orchard Street Realignment is to construct 4-lane roadway with raised roundabouts at Diamond Street, Dorman Street, and Gowen Road intersection. Gowen Road is recommended to be realigned in the vicinity of the intersection of the existing Orchard Street, which is about right here. Because of the large price tag of $18 million, we are making recommendations to construct this project through several phases. I do want to highlight that this project is impact fee eligible. The cross-section recommendations, you've got 2 of them here. They take into account both Orchard Street and Gowen Road, which will have to be rebuilt through this process. The first Orchard Street cross-section, which is that realignment, it's 4 lanes, 12-foot travel lanes, as well as 10-foot multi-use pathways. The 10-foot multi-use pathways is in alignment with our recently adopted roadways to bikeways plan for a level 3 bike facility. Gowen Road cross-section has 2 12-foot travel lanes and a 12-foot center turn lane. In addition to that, on the northern segment of Gowen Road, we do have the installation of a 10-foot multi-use pathway. Orchard and Diamond, as you can see, existing Diamond Street is right here. We are looking to reconfigure it, align it with the new Orchard Street extension and the installation of a roundabout. Orchard and Dorman Street, I alluded to it earlier that we do have existing landfills that are within the vicinity of this project. And more importantly, this landfill here, and you can see the outline. And that is why Dorman Street, as opposed to Aranca Street, which was the other consideration, that's why Dorman Street was considered, because of the likelihood that it would have less of an impact on the existing historical landfill that is beneath it. In addition to this, the Dorman Street is a local connection to the adjacent property owners. Dorman Street is recommended and will be built by the city of Boise. This also stubs into existing adjacent property owner, which is Knife River, giving them additional access for their larger vehicles to enter the Orchard corridor through a roundabout. It is recommended to initially design and construct an interim 2-lane roundabout rather than the ultimate 3-lane roundabout as shown here. So the interim, and then you've got your final. We are anticipating 2040 traffic volumes could warrant that 3-lane roundabout. However, in the interim, we are preserving and could build through design elements for the final reconfiguration of that 3 lanes. An intersection was considered throughout this process as one of the alternatives. The public and both the teams, the preference was to put forward the roundabout as the preferred alternative. Roundabouts have demonstrated large reduction in severe crashes, as well as demonstrated increased capacity to actually move the larger volumes of traffic through the area. In addition, roundabouts, besides continuing to move through the intersection, signalized intersections rather have an inherent delay because of the red lights. Gowen and Harvard, so we've got the existing Orchard Street. The other consideration was to address and realign Harvard Street to the existing Orchard Street. The interim will be signalized until the Dorman Street is extended through the city of Boise once they're done with that local road construction. Once that Dorman Street is connected, this will actually be controlled access, right in, right out only. Our next steps for this project is to take the necessary steps to finalize an MOU with the city of Boise. We will shortly be going into the design phase in 2020 to 2021. I did allude and I highlighted earlier that construction will be multi-phased, and we anticipate construction to occur 2024 to 2025. I'd like to highlight once again that our preferred recommendation is to adopt the Orchard Street concept study as presented. This concludes my presentation, and I'll stand for questions.
Thank you very much, Brooke. Commissioners, do any of you have questions for Brooke?
Madam President?
Commissioner Baker.
Yes, thank you. Brooke, could you just go over what, I assume this went out to the public, could you just give us an overview of what was contained in those meetings? I mean, what the feedback was?
Okay, and I'll go back to the slide that highlights our stakeholder engagement. So we had several outreach meetings. We both had individual stakeholder meetings. Those were individual invitations, as I highlighted, 16 separate agencies. We went through each phase of this project. So in each phase, we reintroduced several alternatives. More importantly, the alternatives were either a roundabout or they were an intersection. That was primarily the largest portion of this project. Through those stakeholder engagements, we actually heard, and I've got that number really quick, we had 57% of participants who actually preferred the roundabout as opposed to 37 who opposed, and their preference was actually the intersection. Followed up with those stakeholder meetings, as I highlight here, we had individual stakeholder meetings, and those were primarily as a result of who submitted applications for overweight vehicles in the area. Knife River, Inland Crane were both two that had submitted, as well as Idaho National Guard. So we followed up with individual one-on-one meetings with either their leadership or their representatives. And then again, I highlight down there, we had the online survey, additional public open house, as well as the public comment that we just concluded.
So could you just elaborate on what comments were received at the public open house and the public comment?
Yes, and Commissioner, if you wouldn't mind, I want to toggle over to the plan itself. That will actually kind of walk through some of those comments we received. Actually, Brooke, what I was just interested in is did we get a lot of feedback at the public open house from the public? Okay. And did we receive a lot of comments? And what did were those comments? Did those comments reflect the same comments that from the stakeholder group? Yes, we certainly received several comments from participants in both the public open house as well as our stakeholder groups. Stakeholder groups were more interested in being able to traverse with their larger vehicles through that area, hence why we had those more individual conversations with them. The public was more interested in intersection as well as roundabouts. And then we heard several of the public who were very actually thrilled to see this project move forward because it is going to alleviate a lot of traffic, given extra access to the interstate for those who reside off of Lake Hazel and in that area of town. If you still would like me to, I can certainly toggle over to some of the graphs that highlight some of the public comments if you'd like further examination of that. If you have them available.
I think that would be beneficial.
Okay, if you can give me just a moment, if I can. I pulled it up. Okay, so here is our first one, and I'm not sure if you're able to see this. Are you able to see that?
No. Here we go.
Can you see that now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is some of our public comment summary that we received. This is survey date. This is our first survey that went out. This is March 26th. This was really highlighting what people are using this corridor for and its existing conditions. So you've got the questions there highlighted above, as well as the percentage that's broken down. So why they're using the area: car, truck, motorcycle. Let me use myself here. Peak AM and PM. If you're still looking this over, I want to toggle over to another slide that can highlight some of the breakdown. Are you still there? Hello?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Just checking. All right. If you'd like, I can toggle over. Just give me the view.
Not right. Yeah, not right.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Are we ready to move to the next slide?
Oh, yeah, I thought you were.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry.
This is new for all of us. All right. Let me pull up. If I can get you here. And again, once I pull it up, I'll share the slide. So what I'm going to show you next is actually the results that are within the plan for the public comments. Let me toggle down to those for you. All right. Let me see. You probably can't see that, right? Or can you?
No, we can see it. Just maybe tell us what alternative 1 and alternative 2 are.
Perfect.
That doesn't show up in any legend.
Okay, so what you're seeing right here is evaluation of the alternatives. So I'm going to scroll up and show you what those alternatives are. And I apologize, this is evolving. Let's see. Okay. Let me give you the pictures.
Or you can just describe it.
Okay, that's what I'll do. So alternative 1, sorry guys, this is I can't even. There we go, okay. Okay, so what you're looking at right now is the evaluation of the alternatives that was provided and the comments from the stakeholders back to us. So alternative 1 is, let me see. Okay, alternative 1 was the roundabout. Alternative 2 was the actually signalized intersection. And then you go into your options. If you recall previous presentations, there were several options that were taken into account. Option was Harvard Street ties into Gowen Road. Option 2 was right in, right out. And option 3 was no intersection. So that was no build. Then you go into the alternatives, the intersection types there that you see in the bottom, which was signalized, roundabout, and none. So alternative 1, actually alternative 2 had a quadrant roadway that was a road that was built off of Dorman that continued and connected to the existing Orchard Street, whereas alternative 1 didn't necessarily have that. And then you've got each one of those elements that were listed within those alternatives that were presented to the public. As you can see right there, the roundabout was the preferred alternative from those who participated in the public outreach efforts. Signalized intersection, you can see that percentage as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Baker. Thank you, Brooke. Commissioner Hanson, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that, President May. Brooke, so this is a unique area because there's a development that's planned. It's under a special planning ordinance. What is the size? What at full build out? What's the anticipated number of residents that are going to be living down there that will be using this as the principal access?
Commissioner Hanson, President May. Commissioner Hanson, I'm not exactly sure what that build out is of that proposed development that is west of this area. I know one development that was put forward was about 2,500 homes, but I can't be certain of that. I'm not privileged to that information as they're putting that forward.
Well, that's I guess my big concern is if it existed today and there are 2,500 homes, those would be the people who would provide input. They don't exist now. So what modeling did we use as to anticipate the kind of input we would have gotten from the public for residences living near and using this so that it was incorporated into our analysis? When we do a public outreach and say, respond, if the public doesn't live near there right now, then obviously the responses are going to be very different. If we were to build this, say, in an area in West Boise or in Meridian where there's lots, 2,500 homes, we would certainly get a lot of input on that. So how did we model that?
Commissioner Hanson, I'm going to try to navigate that question. We took into account future traffic volumes. That was Compass modeling that provided that input, 2040 being that year of anticipated volumes for this corridor. As it pertains to public comment, as you highlighted, we necessarily can't engage with those who don't currently live there or necessarily anticipate the residents who would live there. We did receive several people who provided comment who in the west area of Boise who participated as respondents. Our stakeholder groups was several businesses as well as several stakeholder groups. Treasure Valley Cycling Alliance, Safe Routes to Schools certainly participated in the comment period and did provide feedback for the preferred alternative that's in front of you today.
Commissioner.
So we heard from a follow-up question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Hanson.
You heard from and actually did a specific outreach to those who have overweight vehicle permits. What percentage of vehicles on a given day are overweight vehicles today? And then based on modeling of the number of trips that would exist after full residential build-out, what percentage does that represent?
Commissioner Hanson, I'm not unable to answer that. I can tell you, based off of the past 5 years, the number of permits that were provided for people to use this facility. I cannot necessarily tell you what that percentage is broken down into what our projected 24 traffic volumes could be. Would you like to know what the average was for permits that were given in this area in the last 5 years? Would you like to know that number?
Well, the analysis, since we do projections to 2040 a lot, we estimate what kind of car trips and so forth. What troubles me is I'm seeing the number of large vehicles today, and yet we know they're going to be, as a percentage of users on that road, a much smaller percentage. It's going to be a much higher percentage, obviously, of residences, individuals in their individual vehicles going back and forth. And I'm just focusing on that at this point. So I just wondered if there was any of that modeling done. And
Commissioner May?
Excuse me, Director Wong?
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Hanson raised very good points. I would ask the Commission to consider that these types of issues are going to be introduced and discussed during the design phase. We have a long way to go on this, and the issues of types of vehicles, new residences, updates with Compass, and I would say, as importantly, updates and continued conversation with the Idaho Guard, who may be increasing their operations dependent upon the next budgetary cycles out the, on the East Coast. These are all great questions, but those things are going to be incorporated in the very collaborative and coordinated design phase that we'll be bringing back to the Commission. I hope that sort of answers in a broad way your questions on this.
Thank you, Director Wong. Commissioner Hanson?
Yeah, actually, I noticed in the design that is being proposed that we are being asked to approve is the width of the lanes at 12 feet. And that would make that, with 5 lanes plus a center turn lane, an extraordinarily wide road, and wider than what many of these vehicles use in other places to bring large vehicles. And I do know, I sat in on the hearing at the City Council, and council members asked and were concerned about 12-foot lanes. They were instrumental, the City of Boise, I know, is instrumental in getting ITD to put their lanes over Broadway Bridge, and they have 6 lanes down to 11 feet, not the 12 feet originally asked for. So it troubles me that that is a design that is being asked to be approved, and it won't be changed because we're approving that design phase, and that has major concerns in my mind. And because of the way in which the input was gathered from the heavy emphasis on engine for large vehicles without what appears to be the consideration of residential use and the percentage of residential use, that we have the design concepts contained in this report that will move forward that I think aren't justified. So I have pretty significant concerns. I have another one too, which I think I've raised a number of times. So I've raised the issue of the 12-foot lane several times. I don't see any change in it. I've also raised the issue of the connectivity of the bike and pedestrian facility, the multi-use path. Probably the worst and most dangerous intersection to try and cross is Orchard and Victory Road. It's extraordinarily wide. what we are built, we have, this plan is phased in, and I'd like Brooke to speak to this if you can. This plan is phased in, and yet there is no phase that is included that would extend the multi-use path safely across Victory and across the interstate. So to me, it just simply looks like we're building something that won't be used. We know that that is a huge obstacle. It's like building a road to a cliff and saying eventually a bridge will be built. We need to incorporate a phase, some sort of phase and cost estimate of what it would take to actually turn that multi-use path into a usable one by getting it across Victory and over the interstate so that it can be done. Because I know there's been studying already of Orchard further down as it connects to Garden City, and I don't see that in here. And I know I've raised it in the past, but clearly it didn't wasn't taken into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Brooke, would you like to respond?
Yes, and I'll respond to several of your questions that you had. I just want to, again, just re-highlight the cross-section itself. It's 4 lanes, not 5, so there is no turn lane on Orchard Street on the proposed Orchard Street cross-section, but you are right, there is that proposal for the 12-foot travel lanes. As it pertains to your question is bicycle and pedestrian connectivity beyond Victory. We did examine the bridge itself over the New York Canal. That bridge is fairly new. We do have pedestrian facilities that are in existence on the bridge itself. Through analysis, it was determined that any type of expansion on the bridge itself would require that we have to address the bridge deck, which could be problematic for such a new bridge. With that said, we recognize that connectivity to further north as it pertains to getting over the interstate is important. In this plan itself, we have made a recommendation that there be a further up study to do an analysis of pedestrian and bike facilities over the New York Canal so they do connect to existing facilities that IDB has put in place. It is not part of this project because it is going to have to be an entirely different study, as either we need to examine it for, does it need to be a separate pedestrian bridge? What does that look like? As of right now, doing any type of reconfiguration to that bridge, especially as it pertains to impacting the existing bridge deck, we had to back off. The pedestrian facilities over the bridge, we are going to, and what has been written into the scope is to do some type of analysis as it pertains to ensuring ADA compliance, connecting to existing Orchard Street and ITD facilities further north of the actual New York Canal. So we do know, and we have stated within the plan itself, the need for further study to examine pedestrian and connectivity over the New York Canal.
Very good. Thank you, Brooke.
Madam President?
Commissioner Goldthorpe.
I was wondering if my audio was working because I hadn't squeaked yet. But I wanted to let you know that I fully concur with what Jim said in the area of making sure the connectivity and facilities for everyone using this road in the future from Victory to Chinden is done. I mean, if we need to set up a different study or project to align with that, because we've got so long before this is going to be constructed, I think we should probably insert that into the mix now. Concerning what you said about the vehicular traffic, to make sure in the design phase that we include understanding that this will accommodate 129,000-pound vehicles. We definitely need to do that because we don't want to be rebuilding this again 10 years from now. I do think, because of what I have heard, read, and seen before us, heard throughout the community, read in the paper and other sources, that we're probably going to be having 10,000 homes in this area from just south and west of Victory all the way through to where the old Syringa was and the new developments that are planned. And I'm very hopeful that we won't wind up in the same spot a few years from now that we were almost immediately when we did the Lake Hazel extension, where it was just packed day 2 after we opened the road. And I said Victory a minute ago, I meant Lake Hazel. So that's all I wanted to interject. Thank you.
Thank you.
And-
Well, Brooke, it sounds like you have got this on the radar and you're engaged, and we are exploring the options on the safe crossing. Would you like to respond to anything Commissioner Goldthorpe has just addressed?
No, certainly, Commissioner Goldthorpe, you've highlighted several points that were taken into consideration for the ultimate preferred alternative in front of you. As I highlighted, we are preserving 4 3-lane roundabouts we can build in design. Those are design elements that we can build in anticipation of that growth that is to occur further south. And those are all design elements that we can take into this next phase should this project be adopted today.
One last thing, President.
Commissioner Goldthorpe?
And that is, I think if this area develops out the way I think it's going to, including with what the city of Boise has in store for the industrial section to the east, then there's a great chance of a lot of the folks living there who might be working closer to home than a number of other people in the county, and we need to make sure that they don't have to rely on a car to get to work. That's all.
Commissioner May?
Thank you, Commissioner Goldthorpe. Director Wong?
Yes, I just want to let you know that Commissioner Arnold is on the line. She is on the phone line for the conference.
Okay. Welcome, Commissioner Arnold.
Yes, I've been on for a while. I didn't know if you could tell or not.
No, glad you're with us. Did you have a question for Brooke?
No, I've been pretty involved in this process, so no, I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the commission? No, hearing none. Then we have a Kay Christensen that would like to ask a question, and Stacy, I believe you have got that.
So Kay Christensen wrote on the chat, since construction will not happen for another 4 to 5 years, is there any plan to improve safety of the intersection of Gowen Road and Orchard? Current setup is very dangerous with all the industrial traffic / blind spots.
Thank you. Brooke?
President May and I'm sorry I didn't catch the last name. I don't necessarily know beyond what is in existence now. I know that there was a signal that was put in place recently, but there are no plans for any additional enhancements to this area as we move forward. And I'm not sure if there's someone else on the team or who's able to speak to that, but beyond what is in existence now, in that addition to that signal, no, there aren't any additional plans.
Thank you. Stacy, do we have any others that are signed up?
No.
No. That's it?
Yes, that's
Okay.
it.
Okay, just want to make sure. Any other comments or questions from the commission for Brooke? Okay, hearing none, then we will go ahead and close the public hearing. So commissioners, we have before us the Orchard Street Realignment Study request for adoption.
Madam President,
Commissioner Goldthorpe.
I would move that the staff report and study be approved as written.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Goldthorpe, and it sounded like Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
For the second?
Commissioner Arnold.
Whatever, I don't care.
Okay,
I think I
so
was
we-
first, but if Rebecca wants to do it, that's fine.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, President.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Hanson?
Yes, I'd like to make a substitute motion that we defer this and return to staff until an additional phasing of the connectivity of the multi-use path can be incorporated, so we know what the cost and the design needs are, and that there be a cost-benefit analysis of 11-foot versus 12-foot travel lanes, projecting out the percentage of residential vehicles at full build-out. Those are the two things that we can get. I get a second.
We have a substitute motion on the floor by Commissioner Hanson. Is there a second to this motion? Okay, hearing none, motion fails for lack of a second. So now we're back to our original motion that has been presented and seconded. Any further?
Madam President?
Commissioner Baker?
Yes, thank you. I just would like to say that I think that this is an important project. I understand Jim's concerns, but the design is obviously going to take quite a while, and it won't be built until 24, 25. I think it's important that we acknowledge that this is an industrial area. It's going to stay an industrial area. There may be a lot of housing to the south that will use this as a cut-through from Maple Grove to, the freeway. However, it's still going to be industrial. It's next to an airport. It's not going to change, and we do need to accommodate those large trucks because they're not going to be going anywhere either. So I think that the design is a good one. I like the roundabouts. I think roundabouts are safe, or are safer actually than intersections in a lot of cases. And so I think that we, approving this concept and this design outline will allow us to move forward on this project. So I'm going to vote in favor of the motion.
Madam President,
Commissioner Goldthorpe?
I will be voting in favor of it as well, but I would say that if we were voting on a design right now, which will be happening sometime in the future, and if that design did not incorporate the things that Commissioner Hanson is concerned about, I would be voting no. But since we have that time and I have that hope that it will, I'll be voting yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners, for your comments. And I am, just one moment, Commissioner Hanson. I feel good about the fact that we are going to have some input as we move into the design phase. So I think this project, the outreach has been sufficient, but I do agree with both Commissioner Baker and Commissioner Hanson, the safety issues that have been brought forth. And I think, Brooke, you have duly noted those, and those will be addressed and looked at going forward. So with that, I will call for the vote.
I do have...
Excuse me, Commissioner Hanson, sorry.
Thank you. I won't be voting for this. We do have the time. Clearly, large projects are that consume such a huge amount of tax dollars is something we should take our time at. This report specifically has design features which we are approving. And while I have raised it in each time that it has come up about the width of the lanes and the analysis comparing 11-foot to 12-foot lanes, because large trucks use 11 and 10-foot lanes all over the place, hasn't been there. This currently is an industrial area, but it is going to be a shared area with an overwhelming number of small cars and vehicles. And to me, the analysis of this has been overwhelmingly tilted towards the large vehicles. We simply didn't model what the use of small vehicles would be and the safety that is associated with that. The other is I have difficulty building any pedestrian or bicycle facility and then saying that, well, we'll do further analysis in the future. We have something in this proposal for further analysis of a wider roundabout, which may or may not be needed in the future. Why can't we do further analysis as part of this design proposal that includes connectivity? And building a public facility that is not going to be used until it's connected, I don't think is fiscally responsible. So we've got the time. Let's come in with a phase. We've got 5 phases. Let's figure out what phase it should be put into do the connectivity of pedestrians. Because I already know, I've been on the commission long enough to know that once we give the green light to design features, that's what happens. It continues to go. And because we don't have a whole group of neighbors south of Gowen Road yet, there's no entity to provide that input, and yet they're going to have to live with it. So that's why I have great concern of moving forward on this without those two things, which are not new. I have raised them each time it has come before us in work session. And I have noted that the Boise City Council raised these concerns as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Okay, commissioners, we have before us a motion that we need to take action on. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
No.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is to award PSA for Linder, State Highway 44, State Street to Floating Feather, Linder Road and Floating Feather Road. Request for approval. We will start and have a presentation by Cody Holman. Cody?
Good morning, President May, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Is my presentation up?
Yes.
Excellent. So for the record, Cody Holman, Senior Project Manager in Capital Projects. I am the Project Manager for the subject projects Linder Road and Floating Feather Road, and Linder Road State Street, also known as State Highway 44, to Floating Feather Road. These projects are set to be designed together as part of one design contract. So the project needs for the intersection, basically to increase capacity to accommodate forecasted traffic out to 2040. This traffic analysis will include compass projections and then adjustments based on our current master street map, and then any changes to that master street map before we get that finalized. And also to add pedestrian and bicycle facilities, which currently there are none. We'll also be doing a roadway widening project, which is widening Linder to 5 lanes to increase capacity as in accordance with the 2016 Capital Improvements Plan. Also to add pedestrian and bicycle facilities. There are currently no bicycle facilities and some pretty big gaps in pedestrian facilities. Some additional information. Both of these projects were approved as part of the current integrated 5-year work plan. Both projects were requested by the City of Eagle. Their most current rankings don't include programmed projects, but from past rankings, we kind of presume that together these are kind of the number 2 likely projects for the City of Eagle behind the State and Eagle Road project. The roadway is highly ranked by West Ada School District for improvements, most notably to widen the bridge over the Foothills Ditch, which currently has no pedestrian facility. This project would include replacing that bridge. And also, these projects are impact fee eligible, with a current estimate of about $8.75 million of impact fees available through design, right-of-way, and construction for both projects. Here's just a project overview showing the length of Linder, State Street on the left, Floating Feather on the right. Also, we have Galileo STEM Academy here and a public charter school here. Here's the scoping sketch for the intersection. This was just used to do the high-level scoping cost estimate. So the actual designed intersection may be quite different. We don't actually know yet if it will be a roundabout. That is what we presume, though the intersection analysis will confirm or deny that, and also decide how many lanes and what configuration those lanes would be in. It may also become a signalized intersection. So the scoping sketch for the roadway is just to give an idea of what 5 lanes looks like through Linder. This sketch shows 5-foot detached sidewalk. So we're looking at we propose to look at multiple alternatives for bike and ped. which may include 10-foot multi-use pathways in certain sections and a wider attached sidewalk where needed. But again, that would be done through the design process. This slide breaks up the design estimate. The not to exceed amount in the proposed contract is just under $1,048,000. And this slide just shows how those break out per sub-project. The intersection, roadway widening, and the two bridges, which are right next to each other. And then the other table just kind of splits it out for what we presume to spend per fiscal year for the entire contract. Our proposed timeline is to start design right away, either the end of this month or next, which would then give us a chance to start the right-of-way process in mid-calendar year 2021, and that would allow us to start construction as early as 2024. Staff recommendation is to approve and sign the consultant agreement for design and proceed with these projects, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, anyone have a question for Cody?
Yes, Madam President.
Commissioner Goldthorpe.
I'd like to know if any or how much consideration was given to, I don't mind what's going on with the intersections because they serve admirably to get the traffic moving and through, but I'm not convinced at all that we need 5 lanes between those 2 miles. And I'm wondering if there's been any consideration of how this would work with 3 lanes.
President, Commissioner Goldthorpe, I honestly have not looked into that. This project was delivered through scoping as a 5-lane roadway, which matches the capital improvements plan, and I strongly presume that the level of traffic is warranted for a 5-lane roadway. We could indeed confirm that through the design.
Well, then we spend a lot of money on 5 lanes, and if we decide on 3 lanes, we've wasted it, correct?
Possibly. The future widening of Linder between Chinden and State Street, and the proposed development and land use north of State Street. In my opinion, again, this is not confirmed that I've seen, but 5 lanes is most likely definitely needed for this project.
I know, and it's all still up in the air. We had a long row to hoe with the Beacon Light folks a few years ago, where we settled on what we have now, and we did not go to, what was it, 7 lanes at the time? But we could easily preserve for 5 lanes here and not have to build 5 lanes today. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Goldthorpe. Any other commissioners have a question?
Yes,
Comment?
I do.
Commissioner Hanson?
Yeah, Cody, in doing the analysis that put this onto the capital improvements plan, what was the analysis of the induced demand of increasing this road to 5 lanes, and what that demand would have on the adjacent roads, particularly Floating Feather and Beacon Light?
President May, Commissioner Hanson, I honestly do not know. I am not part of the capital improvements project, capital improvements plan team or structure. I guess I'm just given the project as scoped from said plan.
Yeah, no, perhaps Gary Inselman, who's on the call, might be able to answer this.
Mr. Inselman or Director Wong?
Gary,
Commissioner May?
Yeah, go ahead.
In the 2016 capital improvements plan, at that time, Linder Road was nearing its capacity at the current volumes. The projected volumes from the planned growth in Eagle show that a 3-lane road would fail and a 5-lane road is necessary. That's why it's in the capital improvements plan as a 5-lane road. As far as induced demand, we're basing it on the planned growth in the city of Eagle, and it would not be inducing people to cut through there from other areas. It's taking the traffic from the planned growth and the growth that's already occurred in Eagle to date.
And it is in that area, and more is planned for that area, so.
Absolutely.
Quite a while.
Madam President? Do you have a follow-up question?
One moment, Commissioner Baker. Follow-up, Commissioner Hanson.
Yes, either Gary or Cody. The analysis on Beacon Light Road, Commissioner Goldthorpe points out that we have constrained Beacon Light Road. So what sort of analysis has been done on its impact? And I also on Floating Feather.
Commissioner May, Commissioner Hanson, the decision to constrain Beacon Light Road has not stopped the growth. It's just changed the future projections to show that eventually the roadway will fail if Eagle continues to build out to their comprehensive plan as they desire. There is a need for additional vehicular capacity on Floating Feather or Beacon Light, but with both of them constrained to 3 lanes and the growth continuing to come and Eagle not limiting that growth, there will be future periods of increased congestion on those roadways.
Quick question, follow-up to Gary. Just to clarify, fail meaning delay at peak, correct?
Commissioner Hanson, yes, that would be correct. And the duration of that period of time is unknown at this time.
So Gary, has there been an analysis of when it will fail as a 5-lane at peak? In other words, delays will occur at peak even with 5 lanes.
President May, Commissioner Hanson, to my knowledge, when we were in the past proposing Beacon Light at 5 lanes, it was not projected to exceed that 5-lane capacity with the projections at that time. We haven't looked at it in quite a while.
Thank you, Mr. Inselman. Commissioner Baker.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to, Cody or Gary, either one, this project was on Eagle's list of projects and very high up. Isn't that correct?
Correct. Number 2.
Number 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, well, good.
And West Ada School District supports
And
it.
West Ada School District.
Right.
And there will be growth in this area, and we know that now, and there will be continued growth in this area. Is that not true? Simply because there's growth all over the county?
Correct.
Okay. Thanks, Commissioner May.
You're welcome, Commissioner Baker.
Okay.
President May?
Yes, Cody, go right ahead.
Thank you. If I may, I would also like to point out Linder Road is one of, if not the major north-south road into the future development area to the north. Between Beacon Light and Floating Feather, there's a little bit of, dual roadway use there. But besides Eagle Road, Linder then is one of the major connections from the south side of the county to the north side.
That's
True, and I'd also like to point out that if Meridian gets what they want with a bridge over the interstate at Linder Road, it will become even more of a road that connects north to south Ada County.
right. And Cody, you're absolutely right. A lot of this traffic is funneled down to Eagle Road, and it does become quite a gridlock and bottleneck. So this does open up the other avenue for egress. And then we have the 2 schools there. And so this project has been on the books for a while, and there is a need for it. Thank you. Any other commissioners have a comment or a question for Cody or Mr. Inselman? Okay, hearing none. do we have a motion?
Well, Madam President, I would move that we approve the concept and go forward with the design of this project.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Commissioner Arnold seconds. Any further discussion?
Yes. I assume Commissioner Baker has some comments first, though.
No, I think we should just go forward and approve the project.
All right. Commissioner May?
Commissioner Hanson?
Yes, so I'll be voting no. This is one of those projects in the capital improvement plan that calls for expansion without a cost-benefit analysis. It's based upon an analysis of the peak hour and the inconvenience that might happen to drivers. And so that's how we define fail at the peak hour. And so this project will cost the taxpayers $11.7 million. It will cost $11.7 million and also permanent maintenance. It is an example of induced demand. That analysis hasn't been considered. It will fail based on the same analysis of peak hour inconvenience when it's 5 lanes. So we haven't done the analysis of what, by adding a few seconds or a minute or two for 3 or 4 or 5 years, is it worth spending $11.7 million? The analysis of what this will do by drawing people into and using beacon light as a cut-through has not been done. And so this is a really good example of just widening doesn't solve the problem. It will not. In fact, it probably will create more congestion in that area. My understanding of how induced demand works and my understanding of the data that's come from across the country is these kind of widening projects actually make congestion worse. And it's up to us to help school districts and cities and others to understand how that works. And so it just doesn't, the price tag is extraordinarily high, and especially in these times, to then start spending money and obligating the taxpayers to pick up this cost when the return on what that investment is very, very limited, if in fact might be quite negative.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Any further discussion? Commissioners, Commissioner Goldthorpe?
Just quickly, I'll be voting against this as well for the simple reasons that I had behind my questions and comments before. And I would like the rest of the commissioners to know that if this was already being proposed for Linder on my side of the intersection,
wanted to do
same way.
You haven't talked to Tom.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I can't, there's, something's weird, somebody
Yeah.
came
They
in.
start talking, right?
Yeah, so everybody else
Okay.
who's in the audience needs to mute. Yeah,
All
okay.
right. Thank you, Commissioner Goldthorpe. Commissioners, you have a motion before you.
Well, Madam President, I didn't hear all of Commissioner Goldthorpe's comments because
Okay.
he was
Interference.
interrupted.
All
Yeah.
right. Commissioner Goldthorpe, would you please
Sure.
repeat for Commissioner Baker? Thank
Sure.
you.
The last part that I know was cut off was I'd be feeling exactly the same way if we were talking about a section of Linder Road between Victory and Amity as well. The growth is coming. Some growth is there. But I think for 5 lanes, we have far more urgent needs elsewhere, north or south of the river, north or south of the interstate. It doesn't make any difference to me, but I don't think we need to be spending for 5 lanes.
Oop, there we go again. Yeah, I'm having a little bit trouble hearing today as well. Thank you, Commissioner Goldthorpe. All right, Commissioners, we have a motion before us. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay?
No.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Cody. All right, next on our agenda, project delay, State Street, Pierce Park Lane, roadway and intersection improvement, project numbers 317044.001 and 317044.002. We have a request for approval before us. We will turn it over to Mr. Price.
Thank you, Madam President, Commissioners. For the record, Steve
Welcome,
Price. General Counsel.
Welcome.
Thank you. Today we're requesting the Commission to consider a project delay for the State Street and Pierce Park intersection project. This is the project area. You'll see that it goes down to Strawberry Glen and to the west, down about 1.5 miles from the intersection of Pierce Park to the west. The purpose of the project was to develop alternatives to improve the intersection for all users and support the State Street Transit and Traffic Operation Plan, the TTOP. The Commission adopted the TTOP on June 14th, 2011. The TTOP supports the project for 3-lane in each direction to accommodate future transportation needs, including a transit and HOV lanes, although the current state of the law doesn't allow it, but it'll give us time to explore that with the Utah legislature. In 2016, ACHD improved the pedestrian facilities on both the north and south side of the project area. That project cost was about $1.2 million. It went all the way from Glenwood to Collister. The project was first programmed in the 2012-2016 integrated 5-year work plan. The concept was in 2016. Design was in PD, and the right-of-way and construction was unfunded. The Commission approved the concept design for this project on October 25th, 2017. The project started for the NTP for the concept design was November 29, 2016, and the design was on January 17, 2018. The right-of-way started on August 27, 2019. Appraisal and offer work began in October, and we acquired our first parcel in November of 2019. The current schedule is construction to start in mid-January 2021. Utilities would have to start in approximately early December of 2020, and construction would be completed sometime in late October, mid-November of 2021. To date, we've acquired 12 parcels of 30, and 8 been on the north and 4 on the south side. We still need 18 parcels for the project. This gives you a history of the programming history for the project. Here are the project design costs that have been budgeted and the actuals to date. This is the current right-of-way line. You'll notice that we have a fair amount of right-of-way on the north side of the road. We have very little on the south side of the road, which is adjacent to the Plantation Country Club. This was the TTOP street typology. You'll see that it requests for 8-foot sidewalk, landscaping area, bike lane, HOV lane, travel lanes. Anyway, this is the typology that has been worked off of. The current design, you'll see that we take some property, not very much, to the south. It's hard to blow that up, but I'm happy to share that with you after this meeting if you need to see it. Last year in 2019, we entered into an agreement with Glass Creek LLC for the 4th leg of the intersection at Pierce Park. This would be a private road that would go into the plantation, and you can see a bit of it there. This was an agreement we entered into with Glass Creek and the team for them, and that's something that they're still interested in pursuing. So here are the pros and cons for the project delay. It'll avoid expensive litigation and land costs due to the relocation of the 10th hole on the Plantation Golf Course. It'll take advantage of a large amount of right-of-way, about 25 feet on the north side of street that was acquired through corridor preservation. Gary Inselman and his team spent about $1.5 million. Under the current design, it does not take advantage of that. The existing public right-of-way is 140 feet. We only need 125 feet for the project. And would also avoid payment for trees that are adjacent to the golf course and netting. So the idea is we would redesign it and move the road to the north to mitigate the impacts to the Plantation Country Club. Cons, it would leave a $6 million hole in our in the fiscal year 2021 construction budget. We don't know exactly how big that hole will be, and I'll get into that in a minute. We'll have some redesign costs that are associated with the redesign. We'll have some budget and programming issues related to the project delay. We've already started 12 of the 30 right-of-way purchases that may require us to get additional property or change the design to mitigate the impact of those property owners. And we've already done a fair amount of public outreach on the issues, and that would require us to going back out with the new design. Additional cons would be we risk a full lane, a 7-lane section design. We don't know, but it may impact the central principles of the TTOP, bus routing and location stops, and the bicycle route. Those are things that we would consider in the redesign. This project's been programmed, additional cons been programmed for 3 years, and it's been, again, slated for construction in 2021. To build it and to move it a year is still at risk. We would have to go on a fairly aggressive schedule to redesign no later than September 30th, and we would have to go forward with the right-of-way purchases in order to build in fiscal year 22. Again, the fiscal impacts of the project delay, much of the concern that $6 million hole is soft. The reason it's soft is because we don't know the impacts of COVID-19 on ACHD's funding for this quarter. We are anticipating a significant decline in our highway distribution account money, sales tax, impact fees, and the like. In addition to that, we will be, as the director just pointed out at the beginning of the meeting, we will be proposing no property tax increase for fiscal year 2021. That's due to COVID and the other reasons he outlined. So we really don't know what that number is going to be, and we'll have to come back to the commission with those numbers and the reprogramming options that would be associated. So again, the reasons for the delay is to assess and mitigate impacts to landowners and businesses adjacent to the project, to allow ACHD to coordinate with its partners during the development of the State Street TODP, which is a transit plan that Valley Regional Transit, Boise City, Garden City, and ACHD are involved in. This would give us the opportunity for that effort to come to completion and incorporate those designs, issues going forward, and we wouldn't have to go back and rebuild it. And it would account for the fiscal and funding challenges brought on by COVID-19. These are needed to be appropriately addressed before the project moves forward. ACH staff will work with due diligence. However, we need to make sure that we take the necessary time to address these issues, even if it results in the project being delayed for a longer period of time, if not indefinitely. So our recommendation is to delay the project and get direction from the commission to go forward with the redesign of the project to take advantage of the 140 feet of right-of-way and mitigate and avoid damages to the Plantation Country Club. The options would be to delay the construction until 2022 or indefinitely until we complete the remaining corridor from Glenwood to Collister. The traffic impact study does not indicate an immediate need for the improvements. Improvements can be delayed easily until the corridor is improved, and we would continue to take advantage of the sidewalk facilities and bicycle facilities that were constructed in 2016. We would delay the public input until the project is redesigned. We notify the public, interested parties, and property owners for the project delay. We would continue with the right-of-way where feasible and assess budget programming issues and come back to the commission during the budget and integrated 5-year work process and adoptions. The project delay decision today will provide staff the opportunity and direction to come back to you and take these budgetary and programming issues into consideration for you to adopt in the future. So with that, I'll stand for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Price?
Madam President?
Commissioner Baker?
Yeah, I just want to point out that $6 million hole is not, just for people who might be listening or for the record, that $6 million hole isn't like we've all of a sudden have lost $6 million. It's just a budgeting thing. And, you know, if we do have $6 million to spend on a project, you know, we can either defer it or we can find another project, but it isn't like that just totally disappears. I just want to point that out.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Commissioner Baker.
Madam President?
Commissioner Goldthorpe?
And I appreciate Commissioner Baker's comment there because I was thinking the same thing. And I appreciate Steve's report to us. I think we should check Commissioner Arnold's connection, because when he mentioned that we weren't going to have a 3% increase in the budget, I didn't hear any cheering.
There she is.
I'd already been having some discussions with staff about that, so it wasn't a surprise. But yes, I'm cheering that on, especially this year.
Yes, it's greatly needed. Thank you very much. I noticed that we do have the applicant with us. Excuse me, Commissioner Hanson. Sorry,
Yes.
we've got a little bit of a delay.
Yes, I just want to state it's almost historic. After 8 years, or almost 8 years, I heard staff appreciate Steve very much, saying it's so important that we appropriately incorporate the transit design because we don't want to have to rebuild it later on. Thank you very much. I think this is, I'm glad that has been acknowledged, and I appreciate you saying that, Steve.
Madam President, Commissioner Hanson, I'll mark it on the calendar.
There you go.
Historic day.
Very good. Did the applicant wish to make any comments before we? Mr. Taunton, no?
Commission President May, I thought that the owner of Plantation was on the call. Is Will Gustafson there?
He was.
He
was.
I don't see.
He was at one time. I believe he had
okay.
a conflict because the meeting was going longer. No, we really we expressed our thoughts on the issue in a letter to the commission. So that's really all we have to say.
We appreciate that. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Price? Okay, Mr. Price, thank you very much.
Madam President, if I can,
Mr. Price?
any discussion would be to remember two alternatives: to go forward with the redesign in hopes of constructing in 2022, or delayed indefinitely until we're able to address all those issues.
2022 or indefinitely?
Yes.
Thank you. I do agree that this is a prudent course of action to just press the pause button and regroup and then go forward. And I appreciate the communication going on between ACHD and the applicant. I'm sorry, Commissioner Baker?
Yeah, I was just going to move that we defer the State Street Pierce Park Lane Roadway and Intersection Improvement Project indefinitely.
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Baker and a second by Commissioner Arnold. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Appreciate it. All right, now that takes us down to our last item for the day, any public communications. Stacy, do you have anyone?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. Hearing none. Commissioners, thank you for your time. Staff, as always, thank you. And reminder, next week, we do not have a commission meeting.
Thank you.
So for that, we will adjourn. Thank you very much.